Welcome. It feels very good to be together, to pause, to refresh, to reboot. Do we still use that term? To log out and log in again in a different space with a different awareness. To that end, I would share with you this guidance from my teacher, Rabbi Sheila Peltz Weinberg. We learn to sit when we meditate. We learn how to sit and welcome what is arising in this moment, whether it is pleasant or unpleasant, desired or not, familiar or not. We sit with a soft, attentive openness to whatever is here, because we recognize that it is all part of the great dwelling place of our lives. In meditation, we cultivate attention to what is present in the present. We see the constancy of one thing alone, change. And so we find freedom in giving up our illusions of control. Yes, we are dwelling in a safe place. That place is awareness. Awareness is clear and whole and infinite. It is like a clear pond or a gleaming mirror. It reflects what is present, but does not become what is present or what it reflects. Those who can sit with such a view find blessing, wholeness, joy, and a sense of well-being. So, let us pause and take our first meditative breaths together, and then we will continue. First, we find our posture, the posture that helps us to breathe. And that is with a certain straight posture, but still some ease as we let our shoulders relax, hopefully unclench our jaws. Maybe give a little wiggle to our backs, to our thighs, our legs, our feet. Let us place our hands gently in our laps, unclenched. We think that our teeth are unclenched. Perhaps our brows need unclenching. Let us just try to have some sense of ease in this moment. We might close our eyes, or as she describes, to gaze softly at nothing in particular. And let us just breathe in this present moment. Let us feel it going all the way in, filling all those spaces. All those hungry places that haven't been filled or possibly fueled since the last time we were together. Let us be aware just of taking in that miracle of life, that breath, into all of our empty spaces, to the tips of our heads, the tips of our toes, the tops of our heads, the tips of our toes. And we luxuriate in that feeling and in the ability to separate off the rest of the world from this one instance of breath. And we might adopt a mantra-like phrase just to go in with our breath and maybe repeat it again as we release. It might be something as simple as I am here. I am here. We can say it out loud. We can think it. Or think it on the in-breath and say it. I am here on the out. I am present. I am present. I am present. I am present. I am aware. I am aware. Or simply, I am. I am. Any of those could be used over and over. Or as we suggested last week, the words of a blessing. Baruch on the inhale. Baruch on the exhale. Or Baruch atah. Or Baruch atah Adonai. Blessed are you, Adonai. Blessed are you, God. I am alive. I am alive. Shehecheyanu. Shehecheyanu. Any of those phrases can anchor us in this moment. This moment that will not be here the next time we take our breath. It will be a new moment. So if we can just stay with the inhale and the exhale. I am. I am here. I am present. I am aware. Then we exist right now. I hope you found some enjoyment in some part or all of this past Memorial Day weekend, that despite the Cleveland weather is heralded as the official beginning of spring. If you traveled, I hope that your travels went smoothly. And if you had the opportunity to reconnect with people you haven't seen in over a year, that you found those reunions to be happy and satisfying. I did not travel this past weekend, and as I watched the news reports of crowded airports and crowded highways and rental car shortages, I found myself revisiting the Exodus story with its ingrained structure that dramatizes the traveling, the journey from slavery to freedom, from the depths to the heights, from degradation to victory, from difficulty to triumph, from fear and victimization to individual autonomy, independence, and mastery, feeling very much like our journey from COVID beginning to COVID ending, continuing ending. And yet, whenever we tell this foundational story of the Jewish people, we are brought back immediately to our humble, painful beginning. Telling the story by beginning from that lowly place emphasizes the complexity of growth, healing, and success. All redemptive processes leave their scars. The struggle is not forgotten even once the victory has been obtained. The costs are still real, and the trials at the outset are an inextricable part of the joyful conclusion. We do not celebrate freedom without the slavery that precedes it. The praise at the end of the story derives its reality and relevance from our awareness of where the story began. I believe this is all true and will continue to be of our pandemic experience. So let us take a moment just to breathe in and out the reality of movement from a negative place to a far more positive one, from fear to victory, from the depths to the heights, from difficulty to triumph. Let us breathe. It is almost as if we can breathe easier now. I remember how constricted and constricting the world felt when we first started to do this. It was almost a survival mechanism to stop and to breathe. Breathing was an act of defiance. An act of saying, I am alive. I am alive. Shehechayanu. There is something else I would share with you in an effort to understand it, which I confess I'm not sure I do fully. As we are engaged communally and personally in a process of return, I am simultaneously aware of another drama that is unfolding in our media and in our news. I believe that it began last summer with the killing of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement, but there seems to be a new dimension, particularly highlighted by the acknowledgement of the Tulsa City massacre 100 years ago. And that is seeking recognition, restitution, and reparations. My question concerns the timing, not the goal of this initiative. There is no question that the Black community in Tulsa and far beyond was grievously wronged and deserves whatever can be done to create a spirit of teshuvah, of repentance, of restitution, so that the Black community might find a path forward to some kind of forgiveness in order to move ahead eventually in peace and wholeness, and with a shared vision for our communities and our country. I recognize that there is now a 100th anniversary of the Tulsa Massacre, but there was a 95th anniversary, and there will be a 101st anniversary as well. I keep wondering if the pandemic has something to do with this reckoning at this time and the simultaneous appearance of other kinds of reckonings and other threats, current threats to the life, liberty, and security of many in our country and our world. It is almost as if the world is experiencing a post-traumatic stress reaction. And as we try to cope with the immediate past and with a now fast-forward present, all the frayed and patched and covered over places in the fabric of our society are showing trauma and even rupture. Many have spoken of this time as an opportunity to reset, to recalibrate, and to begin again with a greater sense of compassion, of humanity, of justice and fair play, of acknowledging the dignity and worth of every human being. There are profoundly injured and deeply hurt individuals and groups of people in this country and the world. Perhaps that is part of what the pandemic has accomplished in creating such a widespread sense of vulnerability and fragility. It may have helped release long-held feelings of vulnerability and fragility. It has also emboldened the perpetrators of hatred, of racism, of anti-Semitism, of white supremacy, of negative demons of every shape and variety. Perhaps before we can reset, we need to re-examine, reaffirm, and recommit ourselves to values and principles we thought were self-evident. They still may be, but we seem to be engaged in a true conflict between the forces of enlightenment and the forces of darkness and division. I hope I am not being too dramatic or alarmist. This may be a good time to retell the story of the Exodus from Egypt and the years that followed. Such a process of review might increase our awareness of the pain that can endure beyond any happy ending. The story of our freedom includes the story of our bondage. Every year we repeat, we were slaves, because that slavery remains a part of us. That narrative reminds us of the ways in which our history still marks us, how everything we've endured still shapes us, our feelings and our perceptions. As we seek to go forward, out of the pandemic and into a better future, let us begin, as always, with ourselves. So let us take another moment or two to breathe together, and to breathe in these thoughts that only in this moment can I be better than I was the moment before. I can't do it 10 minutes from now. I can't do it till I get there. So let us breathe. Breathe in our awareness of the miracle of this life and of its instant by instant progression. We are part of a journey. Right at this moment, we are part of a journey. And we cannot get there any faster than our slowest member. So let us take this moment as a reset, as a log out from which we will log back in and train ourselves to live right here. I invite you to continue breathing, just breathing in this present aware moment. But as a formal conclusion to this time together, I would share with you a prayer of transition. It is based on this week's Torah portion when the Ark of the Covenant was moved through the desert while the people wandered for 40 years. But this prayer of transition is applicable to any transitional time. When the Ark began to move in this time of transition, fulfillment, moving toward the unknown promise out of comfort zones, we call out, arise, unity of all in all, breath that contains all life, and disperse, scatter, dissolve all that frightens us, all that limits and eludes us, all that distorts our view of you, all that makes us feel like an enemy. Dissolve these terrors like a teaspoon of salt placed in a vast basin of sweet water. And when the ark rests, return us again to presence. Return us to stillness from the myriad of thousands of scattered thoughts and sensations. Return us from the margins to the center, to now, to here, to this. I wish you a good week with good luck. And I wish you ever greater awareness of now, of here, and of this. See you next week. God bless.